So we were talking about this Bhuma. Let's see if we can cover this today. So now we are at the central region, the absolute, the final, correct? Up to this point in the yatra means the journey, spiritual journey. Up to this point, there had always been a polarity that had to be resolved. In the heart region, the play of polarity was with emotions, contentment, discontentment, calmness, disturbance, compassion, displeasure. See all these dualities, right? Courage, discouragement, clarity, delusion. In the mind region, the polarity was distilled to the soul versus the source, the lower and the higher self. Even there is also duality. So one enters the central region, the polarity ceases, means there is no longer any duality. There is no separation between thou and I. This is the realm of nothingness and higher selves. When one enters the central region, the play of polarity ceases. This is the realm of nothingness. So words fall woefully short of the experience of nothingness. Most descriptions of the center are limited and use metaphors or negation based language. However, the description I want to share is more like travelogue, providing details on the weather and the winds of the realm of nothingness. In Buddhism talks about nothing, and Babuji talks about nothingness, the essence of the nothing. There is one very famous Buddhist. His name is Nagarjuna. I don't know how many of you heard it. His name is from the second century, second 2 AD. Buddha was almost 2 BC, 2 BC or 1 BC, something like that. So this Nagarjuna is known as the second Buddha because, I mean, his writings kind of gave a lot of depth and understanding to the teachings of Buddha. Even like, in any, uh, what should I say, spiritual organizations, once it gets solidified, it gets into many denominations. It happened with pretty much every religion. So Nagarjuna codified, I mean, the Buddhist teachings in a very elaborate manner. So he defined nothing. So when we think about nothing, it is just nothing, right? Cannot be anything. There cannot be any shades of nothing. But this guy, Nagarjuna, describes almost 32 shades of nothing, what nothing is. It can have shades, many shades. But when it comes to the nothingness, there are no shades to it. So, I mean, that's why there is no way to explain it. There is no way to express it in words. To express, it has to be something. That's why it is called nothingness, and that stage can only be experienced by each individual. It is not possible to, you know, get into the this real essence of nothingness. Yes, Yogesh. You guys can speak up, you don't have to raise your hand because I'm not paying attention to the chat. But Yogesh, go ahead.
So I was wondering this morning about paradoxes. So could we say that polarities are a subtler form of paradoxes in higher regions? and they would not die rather. We would have to deal with them until we merge.
See, the merge is a different concept. I'll explain it sometime later. But the duality or these paradoxes, whatever you want to, the word polarity one wants to use, the duality always exists. Reason at the highest, there is no duality. At the lowest, like in the heart region, you have so many paraphernalia of emotions, no emotions, and good and bad, all these things come into the play because their mind becomes very judgmental. But it is a spectrum. As long as we are alive, and how much ever have entered the central region or even beyond, in order for me to function, I have to, function in this spectrum from the lowest to highest. If I have a toothache, I am with my body at the lowest realm of consciousness. When I go into remembrance, I go into the highest realm of consciousness. There is no duality. So as long as we are alive, we are not escaping this duality. As long as there is mind, we are not escaping this duality. Do I make sense?
Yeah, but I have more questions. Will
Go
sure.
ahead.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes
No,
sense.
no, go ahead. What prompts?
So even masters do not escape from it then.
Nobody. As long as we are alive, we cannot escape it.
Hmm. Thank you.
See, I mean, sometimes people think, oh, well, if I'm very enlightened, I won't have any physical pain, which is not true. Okay. So some systems think like that. Oh, I am if I am not this body, the people who taught these teachings, right? When they got into the old age and their body is aching, or they have cancer or something, and they are in utter pain. You go and ask them, is it having pain? Even the doctors ask them, where is the pain? They'll say, I am not this body, so I don't know where the pain is. They laugh. But in their mind, in their hearts, they know they are feeling the pain. See, this is how we kind of delude ourselves or try to show what we are not. But it is the spectrum, and we have to agree to that. That I can be at the highest spectrum and the lowest spectrum at the same time, depending on the situation, demands. Okay. If I have to wash my face, I have to look for the water. There you go. I mean, my awareness has come to the lowest spectrum. So as long as I am alive, the dualities exist. But the only difference between the enlightened person and an unenlightened person in this case is they can look at the dualities from the above and accept both the dualities. Whereas we dwindle between this side and that side. We, like a ping pong, we move between the dualities. We cannot go above the dualities and look at them. That's the only difference.
Yeah, thank you. That makes sense.
Okay. Okay, so let me touch this Bhuma needs to be understood a little bit deeper. So, what is Bhuma? See, even the word Bhumi, in a sense, in a feminine sense, Bhumi means earth. What what do we do on Bhumi? We all, the whole existence, whole life, I should not say existence, whole life. stands on the Bhumi. So the Bhumi becomes the base. So Bhuma also should be looked at as the base. Okay. And this Bhuma, like in spiritual anatomy, we have been reading D1, D2, D3. Where does this D1, D2, D3 appear? Let me go here. I was looking for a sketch which has all the 3 points depicted, but anyways. And when we cross the sixth point, right at the when we cross the what we call the Pinda Pradesh, at the seventh point, you will see this D1. D1 becomes the base of the seventh point. Then we'll see D2 at the 10th point, where we cross the mind region. Means at the D2, all the effects of Maya disappears. And then we go into D3 at the central region, right? So the D3 is depicted, is it depicted here? Oops, sorry. It's not shown here as a diagram. But at the central region, this D3 comes into the play. Okay. So I want to read a few things on this Bhuma. I collected some notes here. And we'll quickly run through these notes. I mean, we'll not be reading the entire notes, but here. So this Bhuma in Daji's words, the difference between the ultimate God and the source. Often we use these words interchangeably, but there is a big difference. I I'm trying to recall what this ERY means, but I'll remember it. So there is a reference to D1, D through D2, D3. D2 is the center of godly region. It extends up to the 16th circle. And D3 is the center of the 13th point of Zat. This Zat is a Sufi term. Zat means divine essence, divine effulgence, or the ultimate, or Bhuma, or Dhura, opposite of Adhura, or perfection. These are all Sufi terms basically. The Bhuma, the Zat is the Sufi term. Beyond the 16th circle, all of it is the region of Zat. Of course, we can understand all these things logically and mentally, but it is much better if we understood it through experience. So, this is the concept of Bhuma. But the Bhuma is also the base. So, the base of all existence. This is expressed as a warp of during manifestation. So I'll go into little bit of details on this statement, right? So Bhuma is the source of the pranasya prana, from where transmission comes in, the mother of all existence, right? There is some notes. I'll share it with you all. So the from the 10th knot onwards, the contact with the Bhuma begins from D2 point. When that base, from there the contact. So the ultimate journey begins. So these, think of this when we say ultimate state, Bhuma, and all these things, think of them as super refined conscious states. So what this spiritual journey is all about, we, even though we talk in terms of points, it's basically the super refinement of the consciousness. Okay. It kind of goes on and on and on, right? It's a super refined conscious state. All right. So if I take you to this diagram, I lose it.
ERY means efficacy of Raja Yoga, right,
Ah,
brother?
correct, correct. Efficacy of Raja Yoga. You're right. So in that, it was explained, that book, Efficacy of Raja Yoga. Thank you, brother. So now we come to this sketch. So this sketch, I mean, there is so much information in this sketch. I mean, I can't even think, we can understand this in its full significance. This sketch was given by Babuji. So he said, this is the center, the Bhuma, the base of all existence. And from this base of all existence, what has created is the Kshobh. Kshobh is like, think of it like a stir or a latent motion. And this stir activated all the dots which are in its dormant state. So they take this energy. So the energy and power or everything started from this Kshobh. At the center, at the godly essence, there is no power. So that's why the God, the definition by itself should not be looked at as power. The moment we think of God as power, the power can go both ways. It can be used for construction, it can be used for destruction. Okay. So all the avatars predominantly, the incarnated God beings as it is depicted in the Indian scriptures, all have come only for destruction. There was no construction there. The construction power was given to the saints. So if you have to look at the saints category, Jesus, Babuji, Lalaji, there are so many, Kabir, there are so many saints will come into the play. They were all given constructive powers so that they can bring change in humanity, so that humanity can look at this God. Okay. So that's why we have to understand this idea, the concept of power in a very broader way. Right? So, anyways, the Kshobh, as a stir, the latent motion started. So if I have to quickly read through and pay attention, and if you are not following, it's okay. So in the sketch 23, the circle were given and the central point was noted as C in the sketch. The central point is called the Bhuma, also called the ultimate thumb master cell or D3. That's why it is because the state of thumb, it is given the color gray. That's why the Babaji called it reality at dawn. The color of dawn. What is the color of dawn when the sun is setting, sorry, when sun is rising? It starts from little, it is in between darkness and lightness. That's why we always think of darkness as something, it's always denoted with some negative connotation. But really speaking, there is no negativity over there. Okay. So the thumb is known as the state of this Bhuma. So there is a semicircle around Bhuma, and many dots are also shown there. And they are called as the latent motion. So we have already known the point marked as C, the center. This is the main point and is an absolute motionless, and there is no energy or power in C. Due to a stir or vibration or force or a jerk at C, the semicircle around C was formed, and it is known as Kshob or latent motion. You see the semicircle here. So the time was taken to reach Kshob from C, and the time was born. See, whenever, even scientifically, whenever we talk about time, time is the most misunderstood concept in physics. Even till today, all the physicists agree that the time is misunderstood, is totally not defined. You can think of time as waiting, time as a difference between the events, but that means the motion has started, latent motion. Motion means vibration. Where there is vibration, there has to be time. Okay. So when that's why this whole existence is called Jagat. Jagat means that which has gati, that which has motion, that which has movement, right? So whenever there is a movement, there is a current of sound, soundless sound was produced. The Kshob is also known as the first mind. From the first mind, thoughts for creation of the universe were formed. So the first mind is also connected to the human mind. So around the Kshob, there are many dots. These dots are dormant state or condition, and there are spaces between the two dots. So that when energy is infused, the dot can expand. Why these dots are present in the latent motion which are around center C? Babaji Maharaj has said that reality is hidden in the dots. There are spaces between the dots because the whole and the entire energy is dormant there. Had there been no space, power would have been frozen there. So that's why Babaji said even before creation, space existed. Now scientists are debating about it, whether the space came first or the universe, the star, Big Bang came first. But Babaji said the space existed before. So when you look at the first stage of the dot looks like this and motionless, no energy to it, and it draws energy from the kshob, and see, it has expanded, it has grown bigger. When energy reaches certain level, that it becomes a third stage. Now the energy is moving downwards. That's why even so this entire system is replicated in human system also. That's why we are talking about spiritual anatomy. So here from the Sahasrara, this power is always going downwards all the way to the Kundalini. So it's a downward pour. Now the thing is, now we have to reverse this polarity to the upward flow. Okay, so that's where the whole spiritual system is, the practices and everything is working on. But luckily our teachers have discovered that instead of reversing it at the root, we go to the central region through other channels. We don't reverse the downward pour of the motion. We go through the other channels and we'll reach the central region, and then everything aligns upwards. So that's the whole journey, right? So the show, we already talked about it, right? So the dot infusing the energy, and then it expands. That means it's started emitting the power. Here you see that it started emitting the power, and then in the third sketch, it turns upside down. And you will see these sketches, those who have been to Manapakam ashram, in the background is a whole huge diagram. And when people saw it, they did not understood what they represent. Basically it is representing this. I'll try to get that picture of Manapakam and share it with you guys in our next session, right? So Babuji has said, when that energy in a dot comes to an end, the next dot is energized and another creation of circle is formed. So he's also stated that the Vedas, there is a mention of 23 or 20, 24 Brahmas. That is the dots, and the latest Brahma is called as the Bhuma, the base of existence, where all the creation begins. That's why the Brahma has become a creator. Okay. So any questions thus far? Comments?
This is I'm I'm wondered by how much greater personality Bapuji was. He had put all these in documents.
Right. So that's good. Yeah. All right. I know this is a little deeper topic, uh, but it's all experiential knowledge. There's nothing theoretical about it. But I mean, at least we have to understand the information a little bit to get some direction before we can experience it. Okay. So let me